From NPR, as of January 1st, 2023, people in Louisiana will need to present proof of their age, such as a government-issued ID, to visit and view pornographic websites like Pornhub, YouPorn, and RedTube. The controversial law, known as Act 440, requires adult websites to screen visitors using reasonable age verification. The new law applies to any website whose content is at least 33.3% pornographic material that is, quote, harmful to minors, according to the bill signed last June. The law doesn't specify how the 33.3% would be calculated. Any commercial entity that knowingly and intentionally publishes or distributes material harmful to minors on the internet from a website that contains a substantial portion of such material shall be held liable if the entity fails to perform reasonable age verification methods to verify the age of individuals attempting to access the material, the bill states. I don't jive with this law at all. First off, I wouldn't trust a porn site with my personal information. Back when I used to watch porn a lot, I would come across these sketchy-ass websites where it's clear that security isn't exactly their main priority, and those sites were usually a fucking pain to navigate. If you so much as tapped on any part of some of those websites, a new tab would pop up with a pop-up ad. And not to mention those ads almost certainly contained malware, and I would usually avoid sites like those, like the plague, and I would certainly not give sites like those my personal information or a picture of my state-issued ID. And what if any of these sites get breached, and then the personal information of all of these Louisiana residents that complied with this law ends up in the lap of someone who you would definitely not want your personal information to be obtained by? That's just my first issue. My second issue is the state determining what is good or harmful content. I don't know about any of you, but I certainly wouldn't want the government determining what I should and shouldn't watch. And I've seen a lot of right-wingers cheer this on and say, good, it's finally time that we take a stand against porn because it's degenerate and degrades morality or whatever the fuck. What the fuck ever happened to being against a big government? Because this isn't gonna just stop at porn. Do not be surprised if someday in the future certain states try to make it harder to access pro-LGBTQ plus content. They're already doing that with books, or any content in general that these lawmakers deem as quote-unquote immoral, or try to make it so that certain movies and shows won't show in a specific state because that show or movie may conflict with the morality of the lawmakers of said state. And anytime I see someone bring up these legitimate concerns surrounding this law, I see people reply with, what, you want to have children watch porn then? And to that I say that is none of my fucking business, nor is it the business of anyone else besides that minor and their parents. I'm sorry, but I don't actively think about children watching porn like you seem to, and putting a stop to that should not be the job of the state government. You want to know whose job that really is? The parents who are raising that child. If a parent catches their child watching something that they're too young to be watching, they sit their child down, explain to them what they just saw is for adults only, and after that, I don't know, maybe do a better fucking job at monitoring what your child is viewing and doing on the internet. You don't need a nanny state to step in and do the parenting for you. Step up and be a better fucking parent. I was watching a news clip the other night discussing this new law in Louisiana, and then I ventured into the comment section. Big fucking mistake, because it's pretty much filled to the brim with fundamentalist conservatives who agree with this law. But one of the top comments caught my interest. It says, I support this. Coming across porn as a little girl at the young age of 6 turned me into a sex addict and ruined my life relationship and whole view on sex. It's time we start doing what we can to protect children's innocence and minds. As far as our privacy, we are ID'd everywhere we go, so what does it matter? First off, that last comment, Jesus, just openly embracing the big government that they probably claim to be against. Second, getting addicted to porn at the age of fucking 6 is an absolute failing on the part of your parents. They should have done a better job at monitoring what you're reviewing online, not the government. You want to know what I was doing at the age of 6? Going on nickjr.com and playing Flash games, not going on Pornhub. My family closely monitored what I was doing online, making sure I wasn't going on any websites I shouldn't have been going on, and thus my childhood was quote-unquote uncorrupted. They didn't need the state to step in and make sure I wasn't going on any porn sites. And plus, if you're not just simply watching pornography, but instead have a pornography addiction, that is entirely on you. That isn't to say I don't sympathize with your problem. I had a borderline pornography addiction up until a few years ago, but I was able to understand that pornography was a detrimental force on my own life, and never once did I advocate to ban it for everyone else. Because I like to take responsibility for my own actions, and I most certainly don't want the state stepping in and doing that for me. People get addicted to cigarettes and alcohol. Those can be addictive substances, but are perfectly legal in this country. This country tried to ban alcohol at one point, and look how fucking well that shit went. You really think an all-out ban on pornography, like a lot of the people who are cheering on this law right now are advocating, would turn this country into a squeaky clean Christian nation just like that? I'm sorry, but if this country were to ever do that, many people would still seek other avenues to obtain pornography. Making something illegal does not mean it simply fades out of existence. So when it comes to wanting to put a cap on minors obtaining pornography, I can at least understand where these people are coming from. But wanting to restrict what adults can and can't watch, that is absolutely fucking ludicrous. But I bet you, these are the same people who cried tyranny when it came to having to get vaccinated. I don't want big government to tell me to get a vaccine that would make me less susceptible to catching and spreading a virus that has killed over 1 million people in this country, but I do want big government to tell grown adults what they can and can't watch. Also, Louisiana, if you really do care about the children, how about you make it so your state isn't literally the worst place for children in the United States to live in? From Daily Advertiser, Louisiana's dead last ranking was the result of a 26.5% state child poverty rate, the nation's second highest, 23% of children lacking adequate access to food, the nation's third worst hunger rate, one of the nation's highest rates of infant deaths, the third highest teenage pregnancy rates in the U.S., and the 10th highest rates of child homicides and suicides. So, Louisiana lawmakers, when it comes to helping out the youth, I say putting a restriction on who watches pornography is pretty low on the list of priorities you should be focusing on. But whatever, they don't really give a fuck. This is just a clear-cut appeal to the recent surge of Christian nationalism in this country. And one more thing, Louisiana, I'm sure there is not an uptick in VPN usage in your state. Wink wink. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.